The demonstration for tonight is, I worked on this all day yesterday, so very excited to present it to you today. So the demonstration is for how to add a zipper overlay to your zipper pockets. So here's an example over here. I've created 4 different styles, including this rounded one. Here's a second style, and you can add rivets if you'd like. There's markings on the templates that I created as a PDF download. So you can add rivets if you'd like. You can skip the rivets. My demonstration, I attached my body of the bag fabric to foam interfacing, but if you'd like for your zipper overlay to be in the lining of the bag, you can easily swap that out for Shape Flex instead attached to your fabric, and you'll just be able to easily follow the same instructions. So the video will be starting in just a second, demonstrating how exactly I added those to my zipper pockets, and then there is a PDF download, so you can print these out, and I recommend printing them out on cardstock so that you can reuse them over and over. And Danny's going to play the video demonstration showing you how to make a zipper overlay, so enjoy. Okay, today I'm going to show you how to make a zipper overlay for your zipper pockets. So this is what I mean by a zipper overlay. I have 4 different styles of zipper overlays, so you can choose the style. As you can see here, I've chosen the rounded off style. So there's a few things that you'll need before we get started. So first you'll need the body of the bag. So in other words, wherever you'll be inserting the zipper pocket, generally to the exterior of the bag, and you'll need that fabric already attached to the foam interfacing. So I've got my exterior fabric where I'm going to be inserting that zipper pocket with the zipper overlay, and it's already attached to the interfacing, and in this case I'm using foam interfacing. So you'll want to choose the placement for your zipper pocket. You want to make sure that the opening of the zipper pocket, let me pull my other piece out again. You want to make sure the opening of the zipper pocket as well as the overlay, because the overlay is obviously slightly larger than the zipper opening. You want to make sure that those items will not interfere with anything that you will be adding later, such as handles or other embellishments on the bags. And if so, you might need to make an adjustment to the placement or the size of the zipper opening with the overlay. Another tip for positioning that zipper pocket with the overlay, you want to make sure that the opening, meaning this portion right here, is at least 2 inches down from the top edge, 2 inches down or more, just so you have some clearance from when you're sewing the seam together. And if you're working from a pattern where the zipper pocket opening is already presented in the pattern, but you'd like to add the overlay, you can always take the measurements from the pattern. So for example, if it's one of my patterns, I generally advise for you to mark the top edge of the zipper pocket, to mark down from the top edge, and then mark both of the side edges. So if that's the case, rather than wasting fabric trying to figure out the placement, you can go ahead and just transfer those markings for the zipper pocket placement to a piece of paper, and then you can use that paper by cutting out the rectangular opening, and then you can use the placement as per the pattern to get that placement where the opening will be, and then you can use that for assembling that zipper overlay. So either of those 2 options, either choose your own positioning or you can use the positioning per the pattern instructions. Okay, so here is the PDF document. You want to make sure that this is printed out. You'll notice there's a 1-inch square and a 4-centimeter square on the page. You'll want to measure either of those squares to make sure that they measure either 1 inch or 4 centimeters. So they shouldn't be slightly larger or slightly smaller. They need to be exactly either 1 inch or 4 centimeters. So here are the 4 different styles of the zipper overlay. As you can see, here's rounded. This one has the 3 different edges. This has a pointed edge and this has a straight edge. So you'll just choose one style. And there's also little circles for placement for rivets or Chicago screws. The rivets or Chicago screws are completely optional. So if you'd like to install them, the positioning is already noted in the pattern pieces. So you want to take your scissors and cut out to the outside of the thick black lines. And if you are using the placement for the rivets or Chicago screws, you can use an awl to make holes where the little circle placements are. All right, another few bits of items that you'll need. So you already have your exterior fabric attached to the interfacing. And you'll also need to cut 2 zipper pocket fabrics, and you'll also need a zipper. So you can either use a number 5 zipper, handbag zipper, or you can use a number 3 zipper. Either size will work here. To determine the length of the zipper pocket fabrics, you want to measure the length or the top and the bottom of the fabrics to be 1.5 inches longer than your zipper opening will be. So in my instance, I'm going to be using a 7-inch long opening over here. So I've cut my fabric 8.5 inches long, and you want the fabric to be 1.5 inches taller than you would like the finished pocket to be. So whatever you decide for the height of your pocket, just add 1.5 inches to that, and you'll be cutting 2 pieces of fabric. And you can also have a zipper that's at least the length of the top edge of your pocket fabric. It can be longer, but it should be at least the length of the pocket fabric. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with this. So another thing that I wanted to mention about the printout, feel free to print this out on cardstock just so you have sturdier templates, especially since that opening is cut out. So I've already decided for my sample that I would like my pocket opening to be 2 inches down from the top edge, and I want the opening to be 7 inches. So the opening needs to be centered. I'm going to use Clover Choco to get this marked out. So I'm going to mark 2 inches down. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a cross at 2 inches down. And then I want the opening to be 7 inches. So I'm going to mark, this will be for 7 inches. And then I'm also going to draw a second horizontal line that is a 1/2 inch below the first one. Okay, so again, here's my opening. It's 7 inches long, 2 inches down from the top edge, and then the second line over here is a 1/2 inch below the first one. Okay, so we're going to use the pattern pieces that we cut out to draw on our fabric. So you should be using a fabric that doesn't fray. So I'm using cork. You can use leather, vinyl, anything that does not fray. And you'll be choosing your style of zipper overlay. So since I already made one with the curved edge, I'm going to try making this edge over here. The choice is up to you. Any style is perfectly fine. Okay, so I'm going to start off by drawing this edge over here, and I'm going to use my friction pen to draw that. I'm going to be drawing the outer edge on this half, as well as the straight edge over here. Okay, so I already know that I want my opening to be 7 inches because that's what I already transferred to my exterior fabric. So I'm going to take my ruler and continue this line so this opening is 7 inches long. So you're just continuing the lines that you already drew on this half. Okay, so when you've got that set up, you can go ahead and finish the other half of your zipper overlay piece. So all I'm doing is I'm aligning this side edge piece with the paper template. Okay, and I need to connect to this area over here, so I'm just going to use my regular ruler to do that. Okay, so now it's time to cut out this piece, and normally I like to have everything all set and ready to go, pre-cut if necessary, but for this particular tutorial, I thought it would be helpful for you to see me following through on every single step. So of course, if you prefer to use your rotary cutter and ruler, especially for the straight edges, you can. Honestly, I usually use my friction pen to mark the pieces and then cut with my scissors, so that's what I'm going to do here. Okay, so to get that center section cut out, I'm just going to fold it in half to get a little slit started, and then I'm going to continue cutting. Okay, so I'm going to bring back my exterior piece and I'm going to lay this overlay piece so that it's matched up with that rectangle that I drew earlier. To adhere this to the fabric, you can either use some Dritz Wash Away Wonder Tape or you can use a washable glue stick. I'm going to be using my Fons & Porter glue stick and I'm just going to be applying the glue basically to the center of the piece. I'm going to try to avoid applying glue to the outer edge or the inner edge. Okay, so I'm going to lay that back in place. And you want to make sure that the glue has dried completely, or if you're using the Dritz Wash Away Wonder Tape, just make sure that you secure that with a bit of pressure. So now we're going to take this over to the sewing machine. Because we're going to be doing some top stitching, I'm going to be lengthening my stitch length to 3 millimeters, and we're only going to be sewing, just at this time, we're only going to be sewing just the outer edge of the template. We're going to leave the center of it alone for now. Okay, so again, I'm stitching 1/8 of an inch away from the outer edge, just the complete outer edge of the template. Okay, now we're going to be cutting the fabric in the interfacing along the center of the opening over here. And I usually like to use my seam ripper to get an opening started and then my scissors for the rest of the way. Okay, so we need to do a little bit more of a trim just so that we don't see the fabric or interfacing after we attach the zipper. So I'm going to flip wrong side face up and I'm going to take my ruler and I'm just going to draw. I know this is a small amount, but I'm just going to draw to the inside on all 4 edges by 1/8 of an inch because we're going to trim back just a little bit further, but only from the fabric and the interfacing. We're not going to be trimming that overlay at all. So you can either use duckbill scissors for this next part, or you can just push it out of the way. Okay, so again, I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that that zipper overlay piece, the piece with the cork fabric, is pushed out of the way so that I'm not cutting into it. Okay, so that's what it looks like on this side. I can see a little fabric over here poking through, so I'm just going to make sure that that's trimmed back a little further. Okay, so now we're going to start attaching the zipper. So pull out your zipper and one of your zipper pocket fabrics. The right side of the fabric will be face up, and then the right side of the zipper will also be face up. It's a little bit different than what we normally do, but again, fabric right side facing up and zipper right side facing up. I'm just going to go ahead and center the zipper, so you should see a little bit of overhang on either side. And I'm going to pin the zipper in place. So I'm going to change back to my regular stitch length, and I'm going to sew this top edge using 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, now we're going to add the second zipper pocket fabric to the opposite edge of the zipper. So again, the zipper needs to be right side facing up. The fabric will also be right side facing up. So I'm pushing the fabric from the first zipper pocket assembly out of the way. You want to make sure that the side edges of the fabric are aligned. And then we're going to pin that in place. Again, we'll be sewing this second edge using 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so you're going to press those fabrics away from the zipper. So this is what it looks like from the right side of the zipper, and this is what it will look like from the wrong side of the zipper. Okay, so now we're going to attach this to the opening of the zipper overlay. So you can either use, again, Dritz Wash Away Wonder Tape, or if you prefer, you can use a washable glue stick. If you're using the Dritz Wash Away Wonder Tape, you can go ahead and apply it to the bottom and top edges of the zipper, and I'm using the washable glue stick again, so I'm going to apply it to the edges of the opening. Okay, so you want to make sure that the zipper pull is pulled toward the opening. Zipper obviously right side face up, and I'm going to make sure that this opening is centered along the zipper. So take your time getting everything into position. You want to see equal amounts of the zipper tape showing on the top and the bottom. Okay, so give the glue time to dry, or again, if you're using the Dritz Wash Away Wonder Tape, make sure it's pressed down nicely. We're going to be sewing this in place 1/8 inch away from the edge of the opening. I'm going to increase my stitch length back to 3 millimeters, and when you reach the zipper head, make sure to stop with the needle down, lift the presser foot up, and then you can finish sewing the rest of the opening by moving the head out of your way. Okay, so flip to the wrong side, and we're going to be trimming the zipper to within about 1/2 inch of the opening. Okay, so I'm going to move that head out of the way just a little bit. I'm going to bring the top edge of the zipper pocket down, and if you'll notice it doesn't reach the bottom edge, that's completely fine. That's why we measured the zipper pocket larger than what we intended the finished pocket to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew the 3 raw edges, including this top portion over here, using 1/4 inch seam allowance, and we're not sewing on top of this fabric at all. So you can either push it out of the way, or if you're more comfortable, you can sew from this angle and sew each side in 3 separate stitching lines. Okay, so I'm going to be sewing this side first, then the second side, and then the bottom. I switched back to my regular stitch length, which is 2.5 millimeters on my machine. Okay, and then for the bottom edge, I'm going to flip it over so that I can be sewing from this shorter piece over here. Okay, so all that's left is to trim this overhang on this piece so that the fabrics are even. And your zipper pocket with the overlay is finished. I hope you enjoyed that demonstration for the zipper overlay, and if you did want to install either rivets or Chicago screws, you can install using the placement on the templates, and you can install them how you normally install rivets. So I think the zipper overlay is great for using up some of your smaller scraps of cork or vinyl. And I think it also gives a really polished and unique look to your zipper pockets. So hope you enjoyed that.